My wife started standing in the hallway at night 3 weeks ago. At least, I thought it was my wife. The first time it happened, I woke up at 2:17 in the morning and saw her silhouette outside our bedroom. She was standing perfectly still, half hidden behind the doorframe, with one hand resting against the wall. I whispered her name, and the figure slowly leaned backward until I couldn't see it anymore. Then my wife moved beside me in bed. Her name is Laura. We've been married for 4 years, and we live in a small rented house at the end of a narrow road outside Columbus, Ohio. It isn't isolated enough to feel rural, but it's far enough from the main highway that nights are completely quiet. The house is old. The floorboards creak whenever the temperature changes, and the hallway light flickers for a few seconds before it turns on. None of that bothered us when we moved in. It bothers me now. That first night, I sat up so quickly that I pulled the blanket off Laura. She woke up irritated and asked what was wrong. I told her I thought I had seen someone standing outside the room. She looked toward the doorway, then back at me. "There's no one there," she said. I checked anyway. I turned on every light, searched the bathroom, the spare bedroom, the closets, and even the narrow crawl space beneath the stairs. Every window was locked. Both doors were bolted from the inside. I decided it had been a dream. 2 nights later, I saw it again. This time, the hallway figure was closer. Instead of standing near the bathroom, it was directly outside our bedroom, with only its face hidden behind the wall. I could see one shoulder, part of a white nightshirt, and strands of dark hair hanging down. Laura owns a white nightshirt exactly like that. I stared at it for several seconds, waiting for my eyes to adjust. The moonlight coming through the kitchen window cast a pale rectangle across the hallway floor. The figure stood just beyond it, where the darkness was thickest. "Laura," I whispered. The figure raised one finger to its lips. Behind me, Laura was breathing softly into her pillow. I didn't move until the figure stepped backward. There was no sound of footsteps, only the faint creak of a floorboard near the bathroom. Then it disappeared. I woke Laura and made her search the house with me. She thought I was trying to scare her. When she realized I was serious, she stopped joking and checked the windows herself. Nothing had been opened. Nothing was missing. The following morning, Laura suggested I might be sleep deprived. I'd been working late for several weeks, and I had recently started taking an over-the-counter sleep aid. She told me that some medications could cause vivid hallucinations. I stopped taking it that day. For the next 4 nights, nothing happened. I slept badly, but I began to believe Laura was right. Maybe my half-awake brain had used her shape to fill an empty doorway. Then, on Sunday morning, Laura found a chair. We had a wooden dining chair that always stayed beside the kitchen table. When we woke up, it was positioned in the hallway, facing our bedroom door. Neither of us remembered moving it. The chair was centered so precisely that it looked deliberate. Its back legs had left shallow scratches in the floor, suggesting someone had dragged it there during the night. Laura blamed me. I blamed her. That was our first real argument about it. She said I was getting obsessed. I said she was treating me like I was unstable. Eventually, she moved the chair back into the kitchen and told me we should install a camera. I ordered one that afternoon. It was a basic motion-activated security camera connected to my phone. I placed it on a bookshelf in the living room, angled so it could see the hallway, our bedroom door, and part of the kitchen. The first night, it recorded nothing except Laura getting water at 1:06. The second night, there was one motion alert at 3:41. The video was 11 seconds long. At first, the hallway was empty. Then our bedroom door opened, and Laura stepped out wearing her white nightshirt. She walked into the hallway and stopped directly in front of the camera. She didn't look sleepy. She looked straight into the lens and smiled. It wasn't a normal smile. Her lips were stretched too far apart, but the rest of her face remained completely relaxed. She stood like that for 6 seconds. Then the recording ended. I watched the video at work the next morning. I replayed it until my hands started shaking, then called Laura. She said she had no memory of leaving the bedroom. When I showed her the footage that evening, she stared at it without speaking. I expected her to laugh nervously or accuse me of editing it. Instead, she asked, "Why am I already in the kitchen?" I looked again. At the far left edge of the screen, barely visible through the kitchen doorway, someone was standing beside the refrigerator. The image was dark and blurred, but the person had Laura's height, Laura's hair, and the same white nightshirt. There were two of her in the recording. One was smiling at the camera. The other was standing in the kitchen, facing the wall. Laura packed her bag immediately. She wanted us to stay at her sister's apartment, but I convinced her to wait while I checked the house one more time. I searched the attic, examined the window locks, and crawled underneath the house with a flashlight. I found nothing large enough for a person to use as an entrance. What I did find was a black plastic bag beneath the insulation under our bedroom. Inside were photographs. There were 23 of them, all printed on cheap glossy paper. Most showed Laura and me through the windows of the house. One showed us eating dinner. Another showed Laura sitting alone on the couch. The final photographs had been taken inside. There was a picture of Laura asleep in bed. Another showed me brushing my teeth. The newest image showed both of us sleeping, photographed from the hallway. On the back, someone had written a date. It was the date from the previous night. We called the police. 2 officers searched the property and took the photographs. They found partial footprints beneath one of the living room windows, but no fingerprints and no sign of forced entry. They suggested that someone might have copied a key or entered while the house was unlocked. Neither explanation accounted for the video. We stayed with Laura's sister for 5 days. Nothing strange happened there. No footsteps, no cameras activating, no figures outside the bedroom. Laura slowly began acting like herself again. I didn't realize how tense she had become until I heard her laugh at dinner. For the first time in weeks, I thought the situation might actually be over. Then her sister asked a question. "Did either of you come back here early this morning?" We both said no. Her sister said she had woken around 4 a.m. because someone was walking through the apartment. She had opened her bedroom door and seen Laura standing at the end of the hall. Laura had been beside me on the pull-out couch all night. Her sister thought she must have been dreaming. I didn't tell her about the figure. That evening, I checked the camera feed from our house. The app showed that the device was still online. There had been no motion alerts since we left. At 11:38 p.m., I opened the live feed. The living room was dark. The hallway was empty. The image had the grainy grey color that security cameras produce in low light. I watched for nearly a minute. Then something moved near our bedroom. A woman slowly leaned out from behind the doorframe. She was wearing Laura's white nightshirt. She looked toward the camera and raised one finger to her lips. I dropped the phone. Laura picked it up before I could stop her. By the time she looked at the screen, the hallway was empty. She asked me what I had seen, but I couldn't answer. Then audio started playing through the camera. Our model had a speaker that could be used to talk to someone inside the house. At first, there was only static. Then we heard a woman breathing close to the microphone. A few seconds later, Laura's voice whispered through my phone. "Come home." Laura started crying. The voice repeated the sentence, but the second time it sounded slightly different. The words were correct, yet the rhythm was wrong, as though someone had learned the phrase by replaying a recording. "Come home." I disconnected the camera and deleted the app. We never returned to the house alone. The landlord allowed us to end the lease early after the police contacted him. A moving company collected our belongings during the day, while 2 officers waited outside. Nothing else was found. We moved into a 3rd-floor apartment across town. There is one entrance, no crawl space, and cameras covering every hallway. Laura threw away the white nightshirt. For a while, that seemed to help. It has been 12 days since we moved. Last night, I woke up at 2:17 and heard a floorboard creak outside our bedroom. Our new apartment doesn't have wooden floors. I kept my eyes closed. I could hear Laura breathing beside me, and I told myself not to look toward the door. For almost 5 minutes, nothing else happened. Then someone whispered my name. The voice came from the hallway. It sounded exactly like Laura. I felt her hand reach under the blanket and grip mine. Her fingers were cold, and she was trembling. The voice outside whispered my name again. Laura squeezed my hand harder and leaned close to my ear. "Don't answer it," she whispered. The door knob began to turn. Slowly, quietly, and from the other side of the door, in my own voice, something whispered, "I know you're both awake.